we're learning about the Kruvim and how the Kruvim were standing. Let me just give a quick summary, and that is that it seems, from our limud, that after all the kashas, the psukim, that by the Mishkan it says Upnei Mish Alachiv, that the Kruvim faced each other. By the Mishkan Shlomo it says Upnei Melaboyis, they didn't face each other. And there's no way to learn the Chumash except for a simple pshat Upnei Mish Alachiv. That's the way it is. There's no drashas there. Upnei Melaboyis, that's where the kasha is. So there's no kasha on the Chumash from Shlomo HaMelech, it's only kasha on Shlomo HaMelech from the Chumash, right? So why would he do it differently? How could it be Upnei Melaboyis, as it says in Divrei Yamim, if Upnei Mish Alachiv, it says by B'Tzalel? So the Gemara says in the Teretz that Sedudei Atzadoidi, that they were tilted. So they were sort of facing each other, and they were also facing the bayis, but they weren't facing each other. And Rashbam and Rashi actually so afterwards say, which is a very, very profound insight here, where the Rashbam says, and he says that really, I'm extrapolating a little bit, but really there's three possible situations in any relationship. One of them is Pnei Melaboyis, another relationship is Pnei Mish Alachiv, and another one is Sedudei Atzadoidi. And the way that you define those relationships is that it's when it's Pnei Melaboyis, means we're not looking at each other when we're talking to each other. So we're like just business or worse, like just getting it over with, let's just talk, but it's, that image that we have of just like not even looking at each other. And Sedudei Atzadoidi, so the Rashbam says, Ki medaber ishim re'ehu. When you talk to somebody, so you don't necessarily look at them straight in the eye. Some people do that, but it gets on your nerves, right? So you don't look at somebody straight in the eye. Sedudei Atzadoidi, like you're talking, you're not facing away from them, you're not facing towards them. Sedudei Atzadoidi, like roa veina roa. But like when you're like mamish madly in love with somebody, so then you're looking at them straight in the eye when you're talking to them. I think it's actually a difficult thing to do unless you really love somebody. It's actually a difficult thing to do. So you have three, if the Kruvim represent, one represents HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and one represents Klal Yisrael. And one is a Zachar and one is a Nekeva, the Gemara says in Yoma. The Zachar being HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kiviyachol, and the Nekeva being Klal Yisrael, the Makabel. So there's three possible relationships that Klal Yisrael have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One is Chas v'Shalom Pnei Mish Alaboyis, Pnei Melaboyis, while not looking at each other. Another one is Ki medaber ishim re'ehu, sort of a casual relationship. And then there's the relationship of Ma'urim Zeh B'Zeh, which the two Kruvim are mamish facing each other. And this apparently we find two places that we know of. We didn't always see the Kruvim, but there's two places that we know of. One is by the Sholosh Regalim. The Gemara says that they opened up the Paroches Baros HaKruvim Ma'urim Zeh B'Zeh. So that was like a chizuk for Klal Yisrael, Eidus Uli Yisrael Shashkin Asher B'Tayim. So that was a special Eidus. So the one time we saw that, and also by the Chorban Bayis Rishon, when Amon and Moav went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, they took out the Aron, and they said, Rei Maisa area, we say this is the Kinach Havav and Kinos, look at the Ereva that they do, and the Ros HaKruvim Urim Zeh B'Zeh. So two times that we see it was Kruvim Zeh B'Zeh, like two odd times, or the Sholosh Regalim is not such an odd time, but the Pardes Project is an odd time for the Kruvim to be Urim Zeh B'Zeh. So I always say over a Tisha B'Av that's like the Barditchever said that what's the pshat Urim Zeh B'Zeh when we're doing completely everything wrong. There's a Pardes Project. So he says, like Kishapoiked Ishas Ishtoik Ifnei Shiyotze L'Derech. The Barditchever says that there is an ahava, and there's a look of, there's a feel of ahava even during the time of Galus, before your Yotze L'Derech, before we go out on the long journey of 2,000 years of Galus. Under Mamaf Kisishta. Now, so it seems like that's the one thing we learned yesterday, that there seems to be three different relationships. The kasha is, and the Rishonim are mashma. It's mashma for the Rishonim that they ask this kasha, not so explicitly, but Tosfos seems to ask the kasha that it still doesn't make sense that Shlomo HaMelech would do something different than Bezalel did. Bezalel said, "Pnei Yishalachim," and so the pasuk says in Divrei Yavim by Shlomo HaMelech, "Pnei Malaboyis." So the Gemara answers, "How can it be Pnei Malaboyis?" Okay, it's Tzedudei, but why does he have to make like a alumnus over here? Okay, Tzedudei, it must be that it was a shtickle this way, shtickle that. Why did he just make a Pnei Yishalachim the way it's supposed to be? Particularly when we were doing the Ritzayder Shalbaka, like Pashtus, the time of Shlomo HaMelech, when we built the Beis HaMikdash, that was like good times for the Jewish people. We were doing Ritzayder Shalbaka. It wasn't. Later on, we messed up. Fell. But at the time of Shlomo HaMelech, that was like our highest time. One of the highest times, time of peace, and a time of Shechina, and the Shechina was Shaar al Klal Yisrael, Shaar, Mashechem. So why didn't he just do it regular, which is Pnei Yishalachim? Why did he do Tzedudei at Tzedudei? And then on the Shalosh Regalim, we came in, and they miraculously, the Gemara brings from Unklis, they miraculously turned towards each other in a sign of Ava to give us the Chizuk of Shalosh Regalim. But why did he tell Avek L'chatchila that the two kruvim should be facing each other, just like Bezalel did? That the Gemara doesn't answer. The Gemara just saying in teretz to be B'teretz to psukim, right? It's a halay lifla hadav.
Just the mechanic said it was miksha echad, the kruvim, like one block of gold.
You're explaining the miracles.
I'm asking.
Yes, one block of gold. Yeah, it wasn't on a little motor or something.
No, I'm saying that was independent. They were both independent.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Rabbi, perhaps even to define the question even to a greater degree, if possible, if correct. Bezalel was imbued with Chachmas Lev because his Zaydi Pur gave his life objecting to Avodah Zarah to the Egel. And that's why he was given this special zchus. And it's a matter of, for example, similarly to Aaron Ba'alos Neros Vayaskein. And Rashi says there, of course Vayaskein, what would you expect? So it's the first lighting menorah in history, a tremendous event, but for Yaskein, he didn't deviate, he didn't embellish it with his own interpretation in any way, shape, or form. Similarly, Bezalel, had he done so in any way, shape, or form, the Kruvim would have been as Avodah Zarah. So are we saying here that Shlomo, of his own, would have deviated from, this would make it Avodah Zarah?
Where is the Vayaskein by Shlomo? You're saying?
That's what I'm asking, right? In other words, wonderful Shlomo, and I don't have to say, but if you're saying that he decided himself to make it the Sedadim,
Pella.
It's a Bella. How can it be?
So you're asking really another. I'm asking that. What was a svara to make it different? But even if there was a svara, was he going with the svaras? Okay, so I want to just before I go further here, I just want to explain something which I think will be very helpful. And I think it actually explained the whole parakas. And that is, first of all, oisin ritzono shalmaka. Kisha oisin ritzono shalmaka pnei mishalach. Kisha ein oisin ritzono shalmaka pnei alapos. That's what the Gemara says. Oisin ritzono shalmaka. What does that mean? I'll just be misponen for a moment into the words. Oisin ritzono, doesn't when we do mitzvahs, when we don't talk about Shadhara, when we learn Torah. Oisin ritzono shalmaka. To my knowledge, I'm not a big bucky, but to my knowledge of Shas, it says there's two places. Oisid Ritzono Shalmaka that I can think of. One is by the Kruvim, and the other is where the Gemara Darshans, we're going to get to that in a few minutes, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Shmuel of Yosafta de Ganecha. Do you have to work for a living? You don't have to work for a living. So the Gemara has a machlekes. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says, Torah bata heyalav. What do you mean? You have to learn Torah all day long. And Rabbi Shmuel says that Harbe asuk Reb Shimon Bar Yochai v'lo also biyad. The Gemara says, and Rabbi Shmuel says that Yosafta de Ganecha, Charisha b'shas Charisha, Zriya b'shas Zriya. You have to do hanig b'hem minig derech eretz. It's the lashon of the Gemara. So there, the Gemara says that Kishayis Ritzaino Shalbaka, Shembar Yachai says, Kishayis Ritzaino Shalbaka, you don't have to do a thing. Kishayis Ritzaino Shalbaka, so you do have to do your Hishtadl. So you have two places which the Nefesh Hachaim actually compares the lashon of these two places. Maybe it says it somewhere else, maybe it doesn't. It doesn't really make a difference. Nothing comes to mind. At least I didn't do a Google search on this, but I think that's the two places. So let me explain the following. when we say Ritzono Shel Makom, I explained a few days ago that what we're really talking about is, let's go back to Parak Vav for a second, of Acher V'Kadam Sartani. That a person is at the beginning of the Bria and a person is at the end of the Bria. What does it mean? It means that, we explained, I think this is a Davar Nachot, that at the beginning of the Bria, what does it mean? We're at the beginning of the Bria or at the end of the Bria? We know we're at the end of the Bria, so what's the question? Beginning of the Bria means that this is the whole plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like, it's the beginning of the Bria means that, Da hate the sun. Like, the whole thing starts with Adam. Like, I wouldn't have made the rabbits and the trees and the oceans and the seas if it wouldn't be for Adam. I'm just doing this for Adam. So, of course, we're at the beginning. In terms of Machshava, of course, we're at the beginning of the Bria. That's the whole purpose, because we're the ones that are going to make a Dira LaKadosh Baruch Hu Tachtoinu. We're the whole Tachlis of the whole thing. Whole Tachlis of Shlomo HaMelech. That's the whole Tachlis of everything. On the one hand. On the other hand, physically, we were created at the end of the Bria. And here the Medrash tells us that, you got to watch this, because if you realize that you're the end of this big plan and you're carrying out the plan and you're part of the plan, so Bishvili Divra Olam, Gevaldik, it's fantastic. If you think that here I am, and I'm just going to do my own thing with the powers that I have. We have tremendous powers of Dibor, we have tremendous powers a human being has. The ability to reason in a way that probably no animal has, I would imagine. The logic, you'll find bears that are lawyers and things like that. Lawyers that are bears, but not bears that are lawyers. But it's l'chora, the koach hadibur, the koach of reasoning, the koach to learn Gemara. This is a human thing. So if you're going to use those koachos incorrectly, meaning not to fulfill the original idea, the rayon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had milichatchila, so then we tell this person yitush kadamach, says the Medrash. You know what? You're the end. What are you? You're just like you're like a piece of grass. Yitush kadamach. You're nothing. You're worse than a piece of grass. The grass was created before you. The mosquitoes were created before you. So what is the vart? The vart is that if you're keeping to the original plan, that's called Oisim Ritzani Shamakim. Of course you have to do mitzvahs. Of course you have to do Talmud Torah. Of course it's all about the details. But it's not. It's there's something gestalt which is bigger than the details, and that is Oisim Ritzani Shamakim. It's a term which, again, I say you only find in a couple of places in Shas, and it's a great term. Oisim Ritzani Shamakim means something. And it's not like, I just want to say what it's not. I don't mean to say, well, I'm not keeping the halacha, or that's not the point, it's the spirit of the thing. That's not what I mean. And I also don't mean that I'm not keeping halacha, but I have my own relationship with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not talking about that either. Those are all nice things. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much more profound than that. That you're starting off, there's a certain purpose for why the world was created, specifically why Adam was created, and put in Gan Eden, etc. And the question is, are you following the plan or are you not following the plan? Are you part of the Ritzono Shel Makom or are you not part of the Ritzono Shel Makom? You see how important the Lashon is? Are you doing this mitzvah or you're not doing this mitzvah? Are you part of the Ritzono Shel Makom or you're not? I would imagine, by the way, Agav Orcha, and I probably mention this every Rosh Hashanah, that on Rosh Hashanah, to be Miyashiv all the steers, it's not Rosh Hashanah now, but to be Miyashiv all the steers, probably, like, here's Rosh Hashanah, and then you start doing Shuvah, and then comes Yom Kippur, like the weird, the Seder, everybody talks about, like the Seder is weird, let me do Shuvah, give me a fighting chance, So yeshivas, they made, like, okay, Elul, you can do Shuvah and Elul if you want, but it's a strange thing. The thing is different, that there's this, the Rosh Hashanah is about Malchus. Rosh Hashanah is about, are you doing, let me say it in my words, Ritzono Shel Makom. Generally speaking, what's your life? Are you part of the plan? Okay, we all deviate once in a while. We all make a mistake once in a while. We all say something we shouldn't. I'm not, okay. But you do tshuva. But Oser Ritzono Shel Makom is like, are you, like, it's like, and this is what I say at Rosh Hashanah, it's like I'm doing an annual review. I'm a CEO doing an annual review of my company, and I'm looking at each one of my 200 employees, and are you saying, are you a company man or are you not a company man? I'm not saying, like, you made a mistake here, you lost a deal there. That's not the issue. That's an issue for Yom Kippur. but like where we can try to fix ourselves to get it perfect and tweak it really right. But the real issue is the Rosh Hashanah, the Malchias issue of Rosh Hashanah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sitting at Dadas Kollel Kulai, is it's not about us individually per se. It's about being Dadas Kollel Kulai. Is my world working Is my world not working? And what is your participation? Do you have a need here? Do you have a need to be here or not? And that's the point. That like I'm examining. Are you worth the effort? Is an adam worth the effort? I'm not saying this in a harsh way because Baruch Hashem here, everybody in the room is worth the effort. Probably even everybody who's watching on YouTube is worth the effort. But here we're preaching to the choir. But we also need a tikkun in this. That you have to ask yourself, am I furthering the cause of the world or am I not furthering the cause of the world? Nu lashon. Am I doing Ritzonah Shel Makom or am I not doing Ritzonah Shel Makom? This is a very important thing. We're not talking about the details. The Kruvim are facing a certain way. Kisha Oisin Ritzonah Shel Makom. That's what the Gemara says. Kisha Oisin Ritzonah Shel Makom. The Kruvim are Ish El Achiv. Kisha Ein Oisin Ritzonah Shel Makom. Pneim El Habayis. There's this connection. Think about it as a connection between the two Kruvim is the connection between Klal Yisrael and Kadosh Baruch Hu, like a laser thing, like a connection, ayin el ayin. So if you look at that connection, that connection is going to happen when the Bria is being nimshach. And if you look at the Sifrei Kabbalah, you'll see that the Bria is nimshach dafka through the Avon HaShasi and dafka through the Mishkan and dafka through the Aron and dafka through the Kruvim. That's how the Shechina is Shaar B'Tach Yisrael. That's why the Kohen Gadol goes in there, because that's where the Shechina is Shaar and Klal Yisrael. So what do you say? What is, now I'm going to go into dangerous territory. What is the Ratzon Shel Makom? Okay, generally we know. We want a dira b'tachtonim. Hello? Are we spiritual architects? What do we know? So you follow the Torah. We can do the best we can. But what is really Ritzonah Shel Makom? What was Ritzonah Shel Makom in Gan Eden? What was Ritzonah Shel Makom and how did it differ after Gan Eden? And let me just focus on something a little bit different. We'll get back to Gan Eden, hopefully. And that is this. There's a difference in the Ritzonah Shel Makom in the Midbar, and there's a difference between the Ritzonah Shel Makom and Eretz Yisrael. You with me, Phil? Yeah? That's the part. There's a difference between Betzalel and there's a difference between Shlomo HaMelech. There's a difference. What we understand, we all understand this because we heard these deeper Torahs since our bar mitzvah. What was the point of the Meraglim? Everybody knows. Why the Meraglim goof up? The answer is because they were attached, these were good people, these were gedolim, but they were attached to the type of ruchnius, the type of Ritzonah Shel Makom of the Midbar. They couldn't get into the type of Ritzonah Shel Makom that's being gefathered in Eretz Yisrael. It's a whole different story. Where's the difference? The difference is, I'll tell it to you in a sentence. The difference is that when we ate man, we made Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam HaMotzi Lechem Min HaShamayim. And when we ate bread, we said in Eretz Yisrael, we didn't have any bread in the Midbar, got stale. When we said we had bread in we had matzah, for a little. When we ate bread in the Eretz Yisrael, we said Hamotzi Lechem Min HaAretz. So what's the whole difference? The difference is one is Min HaAretz and one is Min HaShamayim. To put it in Kabbalistic terms, one's Isarusa de Lasata, one's Isarusa de Leila. Eretz Yisrael Niknes B'Yisurim. It's ironic in a way because you would think that coming to Eretz Yisrael would be lahavdil like going to the Himalayas or something, and okay, off with me, off the yoke of Gashmias. Like, what do I have to deal with Gashmias now? I'm in the Eretz HaKodesh now, and there is a tremendous hashgacha pratis here. But how often is it true that the yoke of Parnas and Gashmias is more difficult here than it is in Chutz La'aretz? For most people, until you make the kinyan. Until Eretz Yisrael Niknes B'Yisur. Why? Because the whole thing is that when you come to Eretz Yisrael, v'yasafta d'galecha v'siroshcha v'yitzarecha, you're going to work the land, you're going to do it. It's all isarusa de lasata. So you understand what's going on here? What's happening here is that the Ritzonah Shel Makom gufa changed. That was the resistance of the Meraglim. That was perhaps the resistance of the whole Klal Yisrael. So when we were in the desert was a bechina of Gan Eden, by the way. It was a bechina of Gan Eden. Gan Eden, everything was there. Everything was there. I didn't have to work. Bezeis hapecha toichel lechem came later. But there was no kites v'dardar. That means there was no weeds in Gan Eden. No thorns in Gan Eden. No thicket in Gan Eden. Everything was musudar. And that's what it's going to be. B'sof hayamim by tchias habesim. Osid hayiladois l'haitzi blue skies. The bread's going to grow a tree and money's going to grow a tree if we're going to need money at all. What do you need money for if the bread's growing on the tree? So we're talking about the bookends of civilization is Gan Eden. And that, so there, the Ritzaynus Shel Makom is you go to the tree, you pick a seed. You go to the tree, you pick a bread. That was the Ritzaynus Shel Makom in the Midbar that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us man, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us slav, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Torah Shebiksav. Same thing. And this is so important. The Bechina of Eretz Yisrael, Kishatavar is a Yardain, is all of a sudden Milchama of a different level, strategic Milchama, all of a sudden farming the lands and Nachala and growing and who's going to live near the sea and who's going to live by the grapevines. Everything became more Megushan. Why? What's the sefer? How do you master the irony? Very simple, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to make a dira b'tachtonim, needs to permeate deep into the soil. It's not good enough to just, after Chapicha v'Amalehu, like the midbar that the libat's just going to drop. No. The ruchnius, the halacha, the ethics, the integrity, that all has to come in your business, in your life, in your farming, in your marriage. That's where the integrity has to come out. So if you're just going to be aloof from the whole thing, so you didn't do it. The Meraglim, we're afraid of this, as are we, as are a lot of people that don't move to Eretz Yisrael or move unknowingly. That I don't want to be one of the Meraglim. I'm not talking about the Divas Arts. I'm just saying it's a different Ritzaynus Shel Makom in Eretz Yisrael. Different Ritzaynus Shel Makom in Eretz Yisrael. You have to build a base of Mikdash, build bricks, mortar. It's build. You have to have wars. You have to have. It's a whole different Bechina, the Bechina of Eretz Yisrael. So that's important for me to explain that the Kruvim in the Mishkan were Pashat, Betzalel, a Vegestalt, meaning the default status of the relationship between Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael and the Rebbeinu Shalom was Pnei Mishal Achiv. Think of a mother holding their baby and looking them eye to eye.
And Shlomo?
At the time of Shlomo, excuse me 1 second, at the time of Shlomo, came to Eretz Yisrael, and Shlomo said, you know what? This is a whole different thing here. Shlomo Baruch Kodshay wasn't being a shooter. Now the Madrega of Eretz Yisrael is not looking away from us. But it's Studei at Studei, and what do we have to do? Get a load of this. What's our avoida? Our avoida on the Shalosh Regalim. Our avoida is to take them and to cause them to magically turn. I keep saying magically, it's the wrong word. Miraculously, thank you. Miraculously turn Ishal Achiv. But the turning Ishal Achiv is our avoida, not HaKadosh Baruch Hu's avoida. It's not the mud. It's our avoida, just like plowing the land is our avoida. This is our avoida. Oisin Ritzaynus Shel Makom is such, Shlomo HaMelech said, that I'm not going to put them Ishal Achiv, that's not going to be your default status. That was the midbar. But here in Eretz Yisrael, that's not you have to make the Pnei of Ishal Achiv. It's not an automatic Ishal Achiv. Midbar, one thing, automatic. And that was, understanding this is understanding the whole matzav of the midbar, and understanding this is understanding the whole matzav of Eretz Yisrael, and even why B'shas Chorban, the Kruvim were Me'urim Zeh B'zeh. Because where were we going? Where were we going?
To the midbar.
Oh, back to the midbar.
So the hashkafa and the midbar and Shlomo were different, good, but still it had to be divine direction to Shlomo and not his.
It was. He had a nevuah, and there was no mitzvah essay to do a play with Ishach. It just says how he did it. It doesn't say that he should. In the V'yasisa Sakruvim, it doesn't say he should put a play of Ishal. It just says that he put the play of Ishal. So each one was a definition. If the Kruvim were like this big seismograph, like this big. This is the condition of the ultimate plan at this moment with Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And what is the Ritzaynus Shel Makom? I'm sorry, what did you want to say?
No. So next step of going to Galus, so that will be continuation of the same Ma'ala, only in a different format.
So that was a complicated question. I'm not sure, but what I'm understanding is that you're going out to Galus. The Kruvim are Me'urim Zeh B'zeh.
Right.
We're back to the Orchlei Haman.
So, right.
Ironically.
Correct. But okay, so I understand that, but that doesn't. How does it fit into the reality? So basically, we're supposed to be in a stage of galus. We're supposed to just not work hard. It's supposed to be
Not about working, but look at the miraculous existence that we've had. How do we survive all of the Holocausts and pogroms that we're still here? That's the man. That's the acclaimed Haman. By the way, even Kipshutai, and I want to get to the Kipshutai in a second. I'm allowed to go till 1:45 today. But even Kipshutai, I think all the time, especially the last couple of days, like Jews in America, the Jews that I grew up with, in other words, my father's age, that survived the Holocaust, came to the United States. Let's say, I know the United States, I know Australia, I lived in Australia, same thing. Came when they were 50, 60 years old, after they came emaciated, they came tortured with who knows what kind of psychological trauma that we can only start beginning to understand now, what even their children and grandchildren are suffering from. And with all that, they figured out how to make $1 million or $2 million. Like, not everybody, but it's a pella atzuma. It's like a pella atzuma. This didn't happen with other people after they were slaves. You're hundreds of years. It's not just about, well, we're smart. It's a gullus thing. And then, here you have a situation, even in the Midbar, we became somehow rich. Then you have this sort of Eretz Yisrael thing, that all that whole big gvir, comes to Eretz Yisrael, and okay, what happened over here, all of a sudden your property is reduced, even the rich people, to about 1/10 of what it was. And so even Kipshutai. But let me just say something about the Pshutai. I want to say this last thing here, because this is what's on everybody's mind. The machlekes Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Shmuel, whether Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, I think Reb Shimon Bar Yochai sitting in the Ma'ara for all those years, eating mun from the crew, having water miraculously like the Be'er Shel Miriam, not doing any work. And obviously, to him, his madrega, this is what I said, this is the danger of it, his madrega was clearly called Echle Haman. It was a sort of a midbar madrega of living alpines. And what's up with the gashmias? What's up with the farming? What's up with the plowing? What's that for? It was with the kibbutzim. What's that for? Torah Batahayala. So he comes out of the Ma'ara, and he sees this one is being chayrish, and this one's being zayrei, and this is being kaitzer, and he says, that's his, and he gets thrown back into the midbar of the Ma'ara. There was, it's not for me to try to even to begin to explain, but there was obviously a madrega that he was holding. Even, what's the difference between limud hazayar and limud Talmud Bavli? And Yeshiva Bachram don't like this. That limud hazayar in Kabbalah Kabel. This is a gilui side. You could try to understand it, but there's no lumdus here. There's no rechayos. There's no toisus. There's not a lot. This is not our job. This is a Kabbalah that we have. That's what the word Kabbalah means. This is a Kabbalah that we have. Isarusa dila'ela. This is coming from Shabbayim. Talmud Bavli, Sarusa dilasata. So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was zeicha in the Ma'ara, not just to food and not just to water, but he was zeicha to side, dafka. That's just like Klal Yisrael, the Midbar was zeicha alpi nevuah. We didn't work. There was no amelus b'Torah in the Midbar. Not that that's reported to me. There were zeicha to Mount Torah. Give it to us on a golden platter. Eretz Yisrael, no more. Comes Rabbi Shmuel, and he says, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, harbe asav lo yalsa biyada. First of all, second of all, is that what we're supposed to be doing? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Now, well, is it what we're supposed to be doing, or is it not what we're supposed to be doing? I'm not getting into the politics of Kollel. I'm just asking a question. Is it what we're, according to the Gemara, is it what we're supposed to be doing, or is that what we're supposed to be doing? So, there's a Briskerov in Parshas Chayei Sarah. tremendous brisker Rav, beautiful brisker Rav. And he asks a beautiful, beautiful question. The Gemara says like this, there's a Gemara in Kedushin Pei Beis. The Gemara says that Amar Rab Nahai, first the Gemara says, Rameir. Rameir says, Lo'ilam ilamed es b'nai uminus. You should always teach a child a profession. Okay, good advice. Amar Rab Nahai, same Gemara, line later, Amar Rab Nahai, that Ali Eini Malamed es b'nai el Torah. Okay, machlokes. Frank the brisker Rav, the Gemara says that Erevin, that Rab Nahai was Rameir. Who Rameir, who Nahai, who Nechemya. So what's he arguing with himself? It's a Pella. What's he arguing with himself? Rameir was Ben Gerim. So Ben Gerim means his grandfather was Nehru, the Roman. And Nehru is Ner, so they took Ner, they made Nahira. From Nahira, they made Meir. But like in the same, and then somehow Nehemiah got in there. But the same person is arguing. So the brisker Rav says in Parshas Chayei Sarah, he says, please understand that there's no argument there. It's not the regular Lashonos of Machlokes in the Gemara. He's saying like this, that for the halacha for everybody, of course you should teach your children umnus. But then, every once in a while there's a yachid that you say to this yachid, you know what? You're like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Every once in a while there's a yachid where you could say, Eina Malamed Ani, Eini Malamed es B'nai el Torah. Is that hypocritical? I'm telling everybody to do one thing, and I'm doing something different for my son. We're talking about Madrega here. We have a Madrega of Ani, Eina Malamed es B'nai el Torah. Says the brisker Rav that what he was talking about was Kan l'Rabim, Kan l'Yachid. For a Rabbim, you have to go like Eini Malamed es B'nai el Torah. That has to be the halacha. For a Yachid, you could say differently. For Reb Shimon Bar Yochai b'Toicham Mahara, you could say, says the brisker Rav, you could say Reb Shimon Bar Yochai b'Toicham Mahara. Okay, listen, for you it's good. The Eftecha Picha V'Abaleyu, you're getting Torah from Shemayim, you're getting soy B'da Shemayim, you're getting food B'da Shemayim, everything is B'da Shemayim, you're living a miraculous existence sitting in the dirt. It's miraculous, doesn't make any sense how you're even living and how you came alive. So the Ur Yachid, he goes out to the Tzibur and he says, what's going on over here? Benichin Chayei Oilav Oiskim B'Chayei Shah. So what does the Baskol come along and say, go back into the Mara? Just because that's right for you, doesn't say Rosh Bar Yochai then got a job in the Makolet, You go back to the Ma'ara. You are the Yachid which are supposed to be doing that. What do you want from Rabbi Yisrael, who's working hard for a living and he's doing it? What do you want from him? It wasn't even a criticism on the lifestyle of Rabbi Bar Yochai. It was a criticism on the Daiti of the attitude of Rabbi Bar Yochai. You can't expect everybody to be a Yachid like you. And think Rameir that Malamed is B'nai Umnos. And then he came out of the Mar, is so fascinating. Comes out of the cave, and he sees the guy with the Hadas, Echad Keneged Zachar, Echad Keneged Shamar, running through the streets. Where you're running, it's Erev Shabbos. Why do you have Hadas? Echad Keneged Zachar, Echad Keneged Shamar. He saw a certain kedusha in that also. There's a kedusha in taking the Gashmias. He saw Eretz Yisrael. In the way, so to speak, Brisker Rav said such a beautiful thing. It's so pashut that the first parak of the Kriya Shema, V'yahavta Hashem Elokecha, is Lashon Yachid. That's for Yechidim. And the second is V'hayim Shemaya Tishmu Al Mitzvah. That's all Lashon Rabbim, right? So that's why, says the Brisker Rav, that in the first parsha of Kriya Shema says B'chol Avavcha B'chol Nafshecha U'V'chol you have to give up even your parnasa, even your money, even everything for the yachid. But for the rabbim, b'chol levavchem u'b'chol nafshechem, nekuda. What happened to b'chol moedechem? You can't tell a whole sefer to give up their moedechem. Not only you can't, you shouldn't. Because that's not the derech. The derech, and by the way, what I'm saying now should make achdus in the whole Eretz Yisrael. Kan liyachid, kan l'rabim. It's so pashut to me. Kan liyachid, kan l'rabim. It's silly to say that everybody should be doing anything. It depends who, what, where, what the situation is. But certainly there are yechidei skula that, like one last thing here, that the Brisker Rav brings that very famous Rambam at the end of Shemitah Yovel that everybody quotes. There the Rambam says at the end of Shemitah Yovel is talking about the whole Shemitah Yovel, is talking about what Levium, that Parakid base, talking about what Levium are allowed to take. They don't have own property, but they're given property. They don't own food, but they're given food, etc. Everybody knows Levium. And then the Rambam throws it says like amazing. Well, Shevet Levi Bilvad, everything I told you is just not is all about Shevet Levi, not about Shevet Levi. Loi Shevet Levi Bilvad, Elo Kol Ish V'ish, any person who says that I want to be like a Levi, I want to give myself over to Avodas Hashem, I want to sit and learn all day, Harishus Biyadai. He says Rishus, V'chayav, and everybody is mechuyev to support that person. So says the Rambam. V'chein Amar David, and that's what David HaMelech said, Hashem minas chelki, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is feeding me. David. So the Brisker Rav, nobody was like the Brisker Rav. So the Brisker Rav, David HaMelech was in the Bechina of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, or Hafuch. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, who was in the Bechina of the Oichlei Haman. It was David HaMelech, he said this B'sof Yama, after the wars, after everything. He said, Hashem minas chelki. He said, what we say here every day, Shivti b'veis Hashem kol yemei chayei. I don't want to do anything else. Acha shoalti me'es Hashem. That's what I want to do. He went from a rabbim to a yachid. That's what happened there. He went from a rabbim to a yachid, and what the Rambam is saying there is not that, okay, anybody who wants to quit the job can do so, and Klal Yisrael has to support them, because the Rambam says, Hilchos Tzedakah, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to, Asir Gomer, to put yourself into matzah that you have to take tzedakah. But there is a yachid that's entitled to say, I want to live up Ines. Now, it takes huge cheshbon on nefesh. On this, Rabbi Shmuel said, listen to this, it was out of sign. Rabbi say, Harbe Asuk Reb Shimon Bar Yochai v'lo also biyad. A lot of people say, okay, I'm going to live up Ines. Are you there? Are you really there? And that's the heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching question. Are you really there? Easy, because we have replaced, forgive my end of the week musser here, but I'm really talking to we have replaced, the deep madrega with external behaviors, meaning it's good, the chumras are good, everything's good, all for it. But it's not good if it's replacing oisin ritzayna shalmakom. So you can, in other words, there's two ways to be a tzaddik. Either you could be machmer and everything, or you could be a tzaddik. Usually it goes together. Although interesting, it's not interesting. Famously, and I saw with my own eyes, the Chavetz Chaim's grandsons don't use his becher because it's the wrong shear. Famously, I saw that becher because my neighbor was a grandson. And he has the becher. So, okay, it's like something that we can't wrap our brain around. So Chavetz Chaim, living in a time they didn't have enough wine, didn't have enough silver, didn't have enough. The Chavetz Chaim was in a different. Believe me, the Chavetz Chaim held that you're supposed to use 3.3 ounces of wine. He would have used 3.3 ounces of wine. I'm not pasketing at this. I'm just saying that's not what was going on here. The Chavetz Chaim is avodas Hashem. I was talking to a group of bar mitzvah boys the other day. So I was invited to speak, Israelis. but I said to them that I just told them a story that Rav Cutler is Zecher Tzadik Livracha. So when he came to America, it was like a big thing for her when he came to America, because there weren't so many Gedolim in America when he came, and he was like really like yesteryear Gadol. I mean, just like an Ilui and do everything, and he came with this passion to build Torah and build built Torah in America, built Torah in Chutz La'aretz, and Eretz Yisrael, Chinuch Hatzma he built. I mean, so many different Torah Sarah he built. You know, Agudas Yisrael he built. Agudas Rabbanim he built. And a lot of that was Rabar, Lakewood, Lakewood, and all kinds of things. So he went to a lot of. He was Rosh Yeshiva, and he went to a lot of meetings. And he went to a lot of fundraising meetings, but he went to a lot of meetings. Sorry, it was starting organizations, and that's what he did. Agav, like when he made his announcement that he wants to start Chinuch Hatzmai, that was when the Medinas Yisrael paskin that there's going to be a dati lumisis. There's going to be a, what do they call it? Dati mamlachti dati and mamlachti lo dati. So they said like everything should be one thing, public school, and there'll be a frum line and not frum line. So Rabbi got upset with that, and he said no, what they're calling the frum line is not good enough. There has to be Chinuch Hatzmai. That needs money because the government wasn't paying for it, so he started Chinuch Hatzmai. So he made this big dinner with Irving Bunum. Made this big dinner in New York, and that was and who was the guest speaker at that dinner? Rav Soloveitchik. Like here's what breaks every thing. But anyways, the point I didn't say that to the kids. I'm just saying that I don't know why, but that's like it just shows you where people were holding and where we're holding, where we think we're holding. And just like it always reminds me of like somebody asked if the kedushin of somebody asked Rav Yashiv if the kedushin of Rav Kook is acceptable. He says, I hope so. He married me. But the situation obviously has changed. But what you wonder, it's changed for the better on one hand. But Reb Aaron Kotler, so every time he walked into a meeting, so he carried with him a Mishnah Berurah. Everywhere he carried a Mishnah Berurah, an old Mishnah Berurah that was given to him by the Chavetz Chaim. And I also have in my house, by the way, a Mishnah Berurah which was signed by the Chavetz Chaim, like mamish from the original Chavetz Chaim Mishnah Berurahs. I keep it wrapped up. It's a Yikar Abitziyas. I have such a Mishnah Berurah, but Rabbi Haber had such a Mishnah Berurah, he actually used it. And he was known to be Bucky back and forth in the whole Mishnah Berurah and every Berel. He knew the Mishnah Berurah clear. So every time he went to a meeting, he had this Mishnah Berurah in his head. So Reb Schneier, who told the story, Reb Schneier Kotler, his son, all of a sudden said to him, like, why do you go everywhere with the Mishnah Berurah? Like maybe it's time looking at your new sefer, like he's waiting in the waiting room, he's there, why the Mishnah Berurah? So he says, nothing to do with learning the Mishnah Berurah. He says he wants to go someplace, he wants to take the Chavetz Chaim with him as much as he can. He wants to have the Chavetz Chaim in his hand. So as much as he can. He can't have the Chavetz Chaim next to him, have the Mishnah Berurah next to him, There's like a certain, omek of not forgetting what the Ritzaynai Shel Makom is. What is the Ritzaynai Shel Makom is? So to sum it all up, what we have come to here is that the reason why Shlomo HaMelech, let me just do a 1-minute summary here. The reason why Shlomo HaMelech was stodei at stodei and he didn't put the kruvim l'chatchila Ish Alachiv is because this was the matzav of Eretz Yisrael. This is the matzav of Rabbi Shmuel of Harbo Asukim V'Le'el B'Yadam. This is the matzav of Talmud Bavli or Talmud Bechlal, not the Torah of the Midbar, but picking up Eretz Yisrael and learning. And there's all these Arusa de Lasata. That's what Eretz Yisrael, which is the ultimate in Malchus. That's the ultimate in Malchus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to permeate the earth, and where does he want to do it? In Eretz Yisrael. That's where he wants to do it. That's the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and that's what the Yachid can take on. Kan the Rabbim, Kan the Yachid. There's the first parsha of Kriya Shema. That's for some people. There's the second parsha of Kriya Shema. That's for everybody. So by everybody, it doesn't say B'chol Mo'edeichem. There's no such words. B'chol Levavcha, B'chol Nafshecha. That we ask of everybody to do. And so it's for a Yachid, it's for a Rabbim. Reb Meir and Reb Nahoira, same person, not Seiser himself, he's not arguing with himself, he's not schizophrenic here. What he was saying is that for the Rabbim, Lamed B'nai Umnus. For me, Ani, Eini Malamed B'nai B'nai Elotayra. It's very, very so emes in the words of the Gemara. So you got to know who's on the Madrega to do that. So Rav Shimon Bar Yochai felt everybody was on the Madrega or should be on the Madrega, and on this the Baskel said no. Go back into the cave. You're on the Madrega. No, the Bekaris was not that you're a low Madrega. The Bekaris is you're a higher Madrega than everybody. What do you want? What do you want from everybody? And then he was able, on the second outcoming into Eretz Yisrael, he had a different appreciation of Eretz Yisrael, and that's the Hadassah. And that's And Rabbi Shmuel, and let's just leave it with the warning of the Gemara of Rabbi Shmuel that, okay, for a Yachid, like the Rambam says at the end of Shemitah V'Yovel, you're allowed to do the first parsha of Kriya Shema. But don't forget that Harbe Asuk Reb Shimon Bar Yochai V'Lo also B'Yavim. Meaning, not everybody is a Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. In fact, I don't know anybody that's Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, but certainly they can't become public policy, because public policy is for the Hamoinam. If there's a Yachid who's there, so that's what the Rambam says, that Lo Yeshev Levi Bilvad. You can move into that place, but that has to be done with a tremendous amount of cheshbon nefesh, and in bells they say behaskamas ha'admor. Like you're not allowed to even go to kollel unless it's behaskamas ha'admor. Now they have a kollel of 600 people. It's not like they're against it or something, but behaskamas ha'admor. Like you have to be the right person. But again, I'm not speaking politically. I don't really care about that. What I'm caring about is our own madrega of that honesty and the cheshbon nefesh is making sure in everything that we do that everything we take on is just so important here. Our Rosh Hashanah, everything that we're taking on passes the Ritzonei Shel Makom test. And that's what Rosh Hashanah is. Are you important on the corporate chart or not? Because, and we might be in for a big surprise, God forbid, if we're doing all kinds of chumras, if that's what we're taking on. I heard Rav Steinberg told me, he says, the Ramat says, and the Ramat says, Aser Shemei Shuva, you should, if you usually eat pasakum, you shouldn't eat pasakum, paspaltir. You should be machmer. So he says that today everybody eats pas Yisrael. You buy angels, you buy pas Yisrael. So it's almost you have to work hard to get pasakum in this country. He says, but he says he thinks that maybe another thing is that everybody should take on like a certain chesed to do with other people, because chesed that you're doing with other people usually comes from a bigger pnimius than what bread you're eating. Like to give tzedakah, to do chesed, to really, I'm talking the real thing, to put yourself out for another person, especially if you're not making like a big covet out of it. That's usually, he said, this was very fundamental to me when he said this. That's usually, that's saying it's a bigger mitzvah to do chesed than to put on tefillin. That's not what he was saying. But he was saying it's usually an indicator. A guy could put on tefillin, but it's hard to do chesed to get tzedakah. It's like a tzedakah l'umim chatos. That's usually an indicator of a deeper part of the nefesh, and that's called ritzonei shel makom. That's what kach kibelti may Rabbi say. That's a wichtige in. I shouldn't have Shabbos and Emir Hashem Sunday.
What's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday?
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.